what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last 7 days, I've been driving the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. Up front is a 2.4-liter turbocharged inline-4, as well as a hybrid system, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video because I have been really enjoying the Land Cruiser over the last several days. I've really gotten to experience all of it, all of its glory, but if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackcradle.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. First of all, before we get back to that engine, this is the Land Cruiser. That's the trim. I'm not missing anything. This is the Land Cruiser trim level. At the base, you have the 1958 trim level. It's going to have the circular headlights. Be very basic. So let's get back to that 2.4-liter turbo hybrid under the hood. Well, that is already the start of some controversy here for the Land Cruiser, because the last time we got the Land Cruiser nameplate in the United States, it came with a V8. Now they're down to a 4-cylinder hybrid. However, technically, this is based off of the Land Cruiser Prado that is sold elsewhere in the world, and so it's technically the smaller Land Cruiser. There is still a full-size Land Cruiser that is sold elsewhere. It just doesn't meet American emission standards, so we got the smaller one. But back to the engine. I actually really liked it. I think it makes enough power and torque for around town to be enjoyable and still have a good Land Cruiser experience. Some people are going to worry about the reliability of this, and I get that. However, so far, Toyota's hybrid systems have proven to be pretty reliable, so I honestly wouldn't worry too much. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Shifting well, I like that it's a physical transmission instead of a CVT, and I don't have any more thoughts on it. Last but not least, of course, the Land Cruiser is 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. How does it feel to drive the Land Cruiser? Well, it definitely has a little bit of a softer suspension than the 4Runner. That's going to be its distinctive characteristic with the upcoming 4Runner change, because the 4Runner is going to have the same drivetrain as this. When you stop, you feel the nose dip down. When you hit the gas, you feel the nose pick up a little bit. That's that softer suspension at work. Visibility is fine. Ride is okay. For an off-road vehicle, it's better than a Jeep or Bronco, but I wouldn't call it luxurious. And overall, I've had a blast driving this over the last week. Fuel economy hasn't been great. Just above 19 miles to the gallon, which for a 4-cylinder hybrid ain't good. And on top of that, these are premium fuel only vehicles, which again, a little bit outside of Toyota's playbook. So just something to note, that it doesn't get great mileage and it is premium only. So you might pay out of pocket a little bit at the pump. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. Now, this is a step up over the base model. The base model just gets a partially digital gauge cluster. This gets the full, and I like it. It's okay to read. It is a little jumbled, but that's okay. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, along with volume, voice commands, and phone options. And off to the right, we have all of our adaptive cruise control options, as well as skip track. The overall steering wheel, I actually really like. This is sort of a throwback steering wheel. It says Toyota written out instead of the Toyota logo. You won't find the Toyota logo anywhere on this Land Cruiser because of that throwback, and I really, really enjoy that. Off to the left, we do get a climate control vent, and below that, we get a bunch of buttons. So we get automatic high beams, our sensors on and off, gauge dimmer switch, 12-volt outlet, power tailgate, gas cap release and trailer, things like that. But one button I want to highlight is the fog light button, because the Land Cruiser trim actually has color changing fog lights. So when you hit this button, they switch from yellow to white or white to yellow. Very, very interesting, and I've never seen a factory vehicle offer that. On the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. We also have memory seats over here, and moving into the center, we get our giant infotainment system. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And some of the things I really like, first of all, we do have this off-road page, which is absolutely wonderful. I think that's pretty cool to look at, although it's not visually interesting, it's good info to have. And you have this 360 camera that will basically mimic the car being see-through. So when you drive over stuff, the front and rear cameras record that and then use that information to make the car see-through. This has made parking absolutely easy peasy lemon McSqueezy, and the base model does not get this feature. One weird thing about this infotainment system, however, is that it does have the volume knob all the way off to the left, almost towards the gauge cluster. Kind of odd there. Down below, we have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch, and our climate controls. So, dual zone climate, which was absolutely lovely, heated and ventilated seats, which was great, and these are all physical buttons, so they're very easy to reach, very easy to use, they work instantaneously, and I love to see that. Down below, we do get our camera button. This will toggle the 360 camera when you're moving slow or parked, and then we have 3 USB-C outlets and the wireless charger down below. The shifter is fine, it's pretty normal standard shifter, chunky button off to the left, works well, nothing really beyond that. But buttons down below, we have the power parking brake and brake hold, we have the traction control off, center locking diff, rear locking diff, and the power disconnecting stability bar. This button right here is not available on the base model, so this is a nice feature for the upper trims. You do have your 4-wheel drive settings as well, 4 high and 4 low, which I like. And off to the right, we have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test. However, it fails. All trim levels of the Land Cruiser fail. I have tested all of them. And the Lexus version, the GX550, also fails that I tested at the Chicago Auto Show. So it is a fail all around. Then in the center console, we have something called the Cool Box. Now, this was also featured in the 2019 Land Cruiser that I drove, so it's cool to see its return. I had a water bottle that was like half full after a shoot, and it had been sitting in the car all day, so it was warm. Chucked it in the Cool Box for my 40-minute drive home, and by the time I got home, the water was actually cool to drink. It was cold water, so that was really, really cool and one of my favorite features of the Land Cruiser. The seats are also comfortable. They are brown leather. Like I said, they're heated, ventilated, power, and memory, which has all been fantastic, and I really, really like riding and driving up here in the Land Cruiser. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser, and a couple of things to note. First of all, the seats are very hard. Wasn't really expecting that, especially given the comfort of the front seats. I do have my own climate controls back here, and I have 2 USB-C chargers and a 12-volt outlet. I also have a pull-down center console. Nothing really too crazy beyond that, but I do get LED lights and things like that. Spatially, very nice. Knees aren't hitting the seat in front of me. Head isn't hitting the ceiling. This is in my driving position. I'm 5'11" and not a small guy. So in that regard, it is a pretty big win. But man, these seats are they're pretty hard. Now, I would imagine that's because the hybrid batteries sit under here. So they have to make it rigid so you don't sink down enough to hit the battery. But not great. Let's hop into the back and talk about the cargo space. So something I absolutely adore about Land Cruisers is that they have this button here and you can pull it up to access the rear cargo without opening up the full rear door. Absolutely love that. Little push of a button, super simple, but then you come down here. The Land Cruiser trim level does have a power tailgate, but the 1958 that I also have a video of does not. So something to note there. Also something to note, there's a little warning label telling you not to overload this rear space because, again, the battery packs are under here. So this little tray thing can only hold about 60 pounds, which I think is a little bit of a misstep because these are like more overland off-road adventure vehicles. You can't put a whole lot of stuff in the trunk. Just something to note. Over here, we do have a wall outlet, which is fantastic. We have tie downs here, 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 and here. Cup holders back here and chargers, although we don't have a third row. Kind of weird to see that. But overall, that is the rear trunk space of the Land Cruiser. Come up here, power tailgate and tailgate lock. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice and easy like that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I, of course, love the look of the Land Cruiser. And we'll do this walk around first. Love the blue color, and I love the angularness of it. When they reintroduced the Land Cruiser, I was so excited that they were going to stick with this boxy design. I think it's a really good way of honoring the old style of Land Cruiser while bringing it to the modern day. Now, let's talk headlights. So, the Land Cruiser trim, this is just the Land Cruiser, gets the rectangle headlights. However, you can buy the 1958 version or the launch edition that has circular headlights. I've never seen a company do this, offer two different headlight designs for trim levels, let alone Toyota, a rather conservative company when it comes to options and parts availability. This is very strange for them to do, but I think it's really cool. I like the boxiness, however, my personal preference is the circular headlights. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Toyota Land Cruiser? Well, I do want to say that I also have a Land Cruiser 1958 video out the same day. I was given the opportunity to test both of these vehicles for a week back to back. And so I'm releasing them at the same time. If you're curious about the 1958 trim level, go check out that video. In all honesty, I think the 1958 is a better deal. You get a few less features for sure. You get a smaller screen, you don't get the cool box, you don't get memory seats, you get the cloth seats, although I prefer the cloth seats. You don't get the JBL sound system, and you don't get the power disconnecting stability bars. But at its core, it's still a Land Cruiser. And so for my money, that vehicle was $59,000. I would go with that personally. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for loaning me both Land Cruisers, as well as Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of these vehicles, and of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.